Today we're finishing off the Races of the World week, and so now it's time to sit back and relax and have a bit of fun, right? And today we're going to be doing a song, and so this guy is going to be a little bit different because this one's more of a well, it's not in English, right? So you're gonna have to be reading a few translated lyrics as things go along. But I think it's well worth the time, and it's a good song. So the song we're going through today is Yo Yo Yo, which is by The Who, and so this is I think the language that they're speaking is Mongolian, right? Because it's about Mongolia, right? and and so it's a it's a great example of what I've been talking about this week, because I've mentioned a few times that you know that cultures don't just like they're not just like one spot. They start in one spot and then they spread out and they dissipate and they mix with other cultures and other influences, and people take their own take on it and their own themes and all that kind of stuff. And so as you go through this, as we go through this, we're going to be seeing how Mongolia is exactly that. Is that Mongolia is right next to Russia, so European, and it's right next to China. So, that same kind of Asian influence that we talked about earlier this week. And so the cool thing about Mongolia, and this is true of like other places around there as well, it's that Mongolia gets that mix of European and Chinese influence. But what sets Mongolia apart from the rest of those Stan type areas, right, is that they live on the steppe, which is this raised up big area, lots of rolling hills and all that kind of stuff. They're pretty much all out on their own. Everyone knows of the hill people. Every civilization in the history of the world has had the hill people. And the hill people are rugged and independent. And this song definitely shows that. And so, without further ado, let's get into verse 1. Alright, so recap of what we just heard. They say, "It has been so long, eating and drinking, being merry." So, yeah, it's been a long time since we've celebrated. How strange, how strange. Taking our great Mongol ancestors' names in vain. How strange, how strange. Yet would not honor our oath and destiny. How strange, how strange. Why the valuable ethics of ancestors have become worthless. How strange, how strange. And so we see here that they're celebrating nothing. It's not their history. It's not their the things that they have done in the past. It's not the things that they're doing now. They don't have that honor that they used to have. They don't have that ethic that they used to have. They see that their culture is draining away. The life blood of their society is dissipating. And everyone's acting like it's fine. And that's the setting of this scene, where they are mourning the loss of their culture, but even more so, they're trying to call it back, trying to wake people up. Because, like I said, Mongolia is full of the hill people of Asia, right? And let's think about different examples of hill people, right? It's, in ancient Greece, there's Athens and all these different city-states, right? And then at one point, those hill people from the north came down and they beat the heck out of the Greeks. And then they settled in and settled down. And you know what the city-state that they started was called? Sparta. Sparta is the hill people. Rough, rugged, strong. Then later on, when we're talking about the stuff with Rome, well, the Rome had the people up north, those people, the Germanic people who were, just beaten up on the Romans time after time. In the UK, they had the British people, which were the civilized people, and then you had the Scots, and the Scots beat up on the British. Eventually the British won, but hey, that's what we're talking about. In South America, I forget what their name was, but it was like the Riders of Hell or something like that. It is like some real badass name that they had for themselves. And they would just beat the heck out of anyone who tried to step to them and try to say, oh, well, you guys got to do what the city says. They're like, no, we don't. We really don't. The Hill people in every area of the world throughout history are defined by this kind of rebellious nature of saying, we don't care about what the city cares about. We're independent. We are our own people. No one owns us. And that's true of Mongolia too. And that's important as we listen to this small segue. There it is. Hey, you traitor, kneel down. Because the whole idea of being independent and being free is having loyalty to yourself, to your family. And the people who sell out your family, your culture, they kneel down and they get their heads chopped off. They're traitors. That's what this is talking about. And then, hey, prophecies, be declared. As in, we're going to weed out all of the bad stuff here. So that way, the good stuff that we know is going to be going to happen in the future can actually happen. Now, I'm obviously not advocating any kind of violence. I'm not a violent person. I don't want anyone to get killed. But this shows a mixture of culture in a very interesting way. And now, now we go into verse 2, which is going to elaborate more on this situation. And there it is. You've borne an ancestor's fate, yet sleeping deeply can't be awakened. How strange, how strange. That there's so much potential, so much greatness waiting to happen, and you're not doing anything with it. Blindly declaring that only Mongols are the best. How strange, how strange. And this is a very interesting line, the way I read it, because the way I read it, it's saying that we have all this pride of being Mongol, right? About who we are, who we've been, and who we will be. And yet, the issue isn't that these people that they're singing the song to, it's not that they say, oh, Mongolia is the best, we're awesome. Is that they have no reason to say that. Mongolia right now is not top of the world. It's not great like it once was. And so they're saying, oh yeah, Mongolia's the best because don't you know, like hundreds of years ago we did stuff? Like, come on, dude. No one cares. And it's saying these two lines that you're sleeping deeply, can't be awakened. You have all this potential that could be let out, but isn't. And yet you say that you're amazing. You act like you're the best when you haven't done anything. That you're just coasting on the greatness of your ancestors, never doing anything for yourself. Never doing anything by yourself. And it says, born to live as nobles, yet can't unite as one. How strange, how strange. Why is it difficult to rise up our nation up? How strange, how strange. That we're living in like the best time in history in terms of material wealth, right? And that's true in Mongolia as well. That they're having a lot more than they used to have, but they don't have anything to be proud of. There's nothing pulling them together and uniting them into a people anymore. And this is the nice history lesson and how that turned out. Is because, like I said, how the heck did the hill people of Asia conquer most of Asia? Like, that doesn't make any sense, right? Like sure, yeah, Sparta was great, but they had to make a city first. Well, like, throughout history, the hill people always lost. The hill people always failed. And the reason was, even though one person who has this independence and greatness about themselves, who works so hard because everything is on their shoulders, even though they may be great, and they may be worth like 10 of the opposite side, when it's 1 versus 100, they still lose. And that's the thing. That's why Mongolia got pushed around all the time by the Chinese. They got pushed around time after time. Pushed back, pushed back, pushed back. Because the Chinese didn't have to fight Mongolia. They had to fight a tribe. And then they fought this Mongolian tribe and then that Mongolian tribe. And they beat him back and beat him back and beat him back. Because an army versus a village is like not even a contest. But that changed with Genghis Khan, right? That he did something that hadn't been done in Mongolia before. And that was forgive his enemies. Now, like, there's all this terminology of him being ruthless and him being unrelenting. And that's to non-Mongolians. He would be brutal in a fight. And then when the other Mongolians lost, he would say, hey, I'm going to chop off the head of your one leader, and then the rest of you can join me. And then that was it. Everything was forgiven. And then he just trusted you from then on. And as ruthless and as, savage as that is, that's the beginning of forgiveness. That's that first step of community. And so what he did for Mongolia was took these people that were independent and on their own and great in their own right because they had to be. And he made them into a community, a group. And together, those soldiers that could fight 10 others, well, now we're not just talking about 1 versus 100. We're talking about 1,000 versus 1,000. And 1,000 versus 1,000, where one of them has these highly independent, really well-trained, really strong people, well, they're gonna win because they're motivated. And with more even numbers, man, they're just gonna cut right through those people. And that's what happened. That's how Mongolia became the exception. That they did what no one thought they could. That these hillbillies, right? just come on up and say, hey, your stuff is ours now. And they did it. And it worked. Because, they were united. That they went from having independence to having independence and individuality and community. They had two things. And as soon as they went from just having individuality to having individuality and community, as soon as they went to 2, massive increase in power, massive change in the world, massive impact. Because they went from 1 to 2. And that was all they needed to do. That's all they needed to do. And then they could conquer China. And this is what I'm talking about. This is the power of these 4 things. When you move from 1 to 2, from 2 to 3, from 3 to 4, massive increase in productivity, in impact on the world. Lot of stuff changes. Massive changes. And so that's what we're talking about here. Is that happened in the past for Mongolia. They saw going from 1 to 2, and that was, boom, all they needed. They only had 2, and they beat everyone. They beat everyone because they had 2. 2 out of 4. That's all they needed. And now they don't have that. And the question is why? Why is it difficult to rise up our nation? We only needed 2. We only needed to be individuals and a community. That was it. We only needed 2 things. How is it so hard? But it is hard. Because it is easy to fall back on one or the other. It's easy to say, I don't have to develop myself as a person because everyone else has it. They have it taken care of. And it's also easy to say, everyone else, forget about everyone else. I want to be great. And so instead of weighing myself down with the rest of you people, I'm going to be me and I'm going to do good by me. It's easy to be independent at the expense of community. And it's easy to have a community at the expense of individuality. And that's exactly what they were sandwiched between. Europe, where everyone's independent and screw everyone else, versus China, which is you don't matter, the community does. And they're sandwiched between these two forces, where they say Europe, like especially Russia. I mean, think about how independent Russian people are, right? They don't care about anyone or anything. That's the vibe you get from Russia. That's what Mongolia has on the one side. And then you have China, which is so notorious for self-erasure, for saying, oh, me as a person? Nope, I'm not a person. I'm just a face in the crowd. Don't look at me. Don't give me any mind or pay me any attention. I'm not doing anything. So you have these two opposites. And so it's very easy for Mongolia to say, well, pick one. What is much harder is to do both. But that's exactly what they did. That's why they were so amazing. That's why they conquered so much. Is because they went from 1 to 2. And so then, after this is that next segue. Hey, you traitor, kneel down. Hey, prophecies, be declared. Again, reiterating. This massive independence and saying, hey, we are us. We are Mongols. We are these great people, great warriors, and we have power running through our veins. And at the same time saying, hey, prophecies be declared. Well, what prophecies? Mongolia doesn't have some great faith, some amazing understanding of their place in the universe that gives them resilience the same way India does. They don't really have that. They have a tradition, they have a culture, and that's what they're talking about. They're talking about their people. The thing that unifies their people. And so again, in this just slight transfer from verse to verse. Hey, you traitor, kneel down. That we are Mongols, we are great, we are powerful. And then, hey, prophecies be declared. We are a people, we are together, we are united. And then, here's the next bit. And there it is. Hey, why it's so hard to cherish the ancestors' inherited land? How strange, how strange. Why priceless edifications of elders turning to ashes? How strange, how strange. With the future of eternal prosperity, the wolf totem Mongols have the blessings of heaven. Born with undeniable fate to gather the nations, the Lord Chinggis declares his name on earth. Would come back, will come back. Now that's a lot. And that's a lot of cultural type language that Mongolians would understand. And, first time I read that, I felt like, what the heck is that? But this is how it is. So the first two bits, why is it so hard to cherish our ancestors' land, and why priceless edifications of elders are turning to ashes. Why have we lost our history? Why have we lost our way? And once again, it's losing both. It's losing a little bit of both. The first one is, why is it so hard to cherish our inherited lands? Now, who takes care of the land? Whoever lives there. So a family would live on that land. And a family, maybe extended family to a tribe, right? A group have this individualistic responsibility to increase the value of the land, make it grow and prosper and be great. Why didn't that happen? What happened to all of this independently minded Mongols that were great and impactful and influential? That didn't keep up. But then the next one, why priceless edifications of elders turning to ashes? Why did we forget all the stuff that kept us together as a people, as a community? We lost that too. And then it's leading into this promise of a better future, inspired by the past, with the future of eternal prosperity. That the goal we're trying to get to is getting back those two. Having that prosperity that lasts. Because not only do you have individuals that are powerful and impactful and do great things, but you also have a people to back it up. You have a community to keep that going and raise those people up even higher. To compound the effects of that individuality, where you have one person doing great, and that helps another one do great, and another one, and boom, 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 and it becomes this massive, explosive growth. Why isn't that happening? Well, in the future of eternal prosperity, it will happen. And the wolf totem Mongols, and this is, I had to Google this one for sure. Wolf totem is like that spirit of independence, like a wolf, The wolf is strong and powerful. And they go and they do things. But at the same time, they're part of a pack. They don't fight alone. They fight as a pack. The lone wolf is the wolf that dies. But you take a wolf and you back it into a corner, it doesn't matter that it doesn't have any friends around. It'll kill you. It'll rip you apart. And that's the spirit of this. This is that fiercely independent and yet still part of a community. Like wolves. And so the wolf totem Mongols have the blessings of heaven. That this is something that should happen. That those Mongols that are fiercely independent and also simultaneously part of that pack, those are the ones that are blessed, that will continue to succeed, that will inspire future generations. Born with undeniable fate to gather the nations. And this is what is so cool about this idea. All through this week, I've been saying that one area has been given a gift, something special about them. And what happens? It spreads. That India created not only faith for themselves, but faith for the entire world. that China, we still are inspired by the writings and the logic and the sayings of China. That's still around today, from ancient times. That logic and reason and knowledge about the world is still around today. And the that race view of the world from Africa, well, that's a big impact today. And what's more is it's spreading to more and more people, where especially in America now, it's not just black. It's spreading and creating this community of people that spans races. And that is something beautiful to see. And then with the Europeans, that independence that European has been, like, exclusively responsible for, well, now in America, that's going to everyone. That finally people from around the world get to be independent in the way that they didn't know how. That whenever you get a gift, it will naturally spread to other people, because that's what people do, is they learn from each other and they grow. And this is a statement of saying that Mongols once did that. That Mongols once spread their culture and influenced other people. And they got to benefit other people and help other people grow and improve and be more than they were before. And there's pride in that. There's something good about that. Now, I mean, the way they did it, of like slaughtering a whole bunch of people, yeah, probably that part's bad. Don't do that again. But giving that gift of something you learned to other people is beautiful. It's wonderful. It's a good feeling to feel important because you taught someone something. That's a good feeling. And then Lord Chinggis, so Genghis Khan, declares his name on earth. That he planted his flag. He made everyone know the name Mongol. Like, we know about the Mongols because of him. If he wasn't around and he didn't do what he did, they would just be a no-name border country between Russia and China, right? Like who would care? No one would care. They would just be like, how about this? Tell me which country have you heard more about? Mongolia or Kazakhstan? They're right next to each other, but I have a feeling you heard more about Mongolia because of the Mongols, because of Genghis Khan and the impact he had on the world, how influential he was on the world. And to get that feeling back, it makes a lot of sense. Makes a lot of sense why you would want that. Because it just feels good to be wanted. To have an impact. To be able to change the world for the better. And it's arguable whether he did that or not. But what's not arguable is that he did have an impact. So he declares his name on earth. Would come back, will come back. That all this stuff, all this meaning and purpose that came from just coming up with two of these four ideas, that one day that's going to come back, guaranteed. That the Mongols will once again be that fiercely independent people that are a pack, a group, together, united. That one day that will happen again. And when that does happen, the world will know. And that's a beautiful thing. So then the next part is Well, this. And so there you go. Oh, Black Banner, be awakened, be awakened. That's the banner of Genghis Khan, right? The Black Banner, the Mongol banner. Oh, the royal power, rise and rise forever. And then, they say the how strange, and then they say it again. And so that's what Mongolia wants. Is it wants to be valued again. It wants to be important again, impactful again. Because there was a time in which they were important, where their fierce independence mattered. And you see, this is the thing all throughout the world. Whenever a group of people make progress in one of these four areas, massive growth, massive expansion. That one is good. One will cement you in the annals of history as someone important. 2 means you're going to have a great impact on the world. 3 is you're going to affect the entire world. I don't think we've ever seen 4 yet. But we might be getting close with America. Maybe in a couple 100 years, we'll actually get there to all 4. But let's grab some examples just to take this outside of just Mongolia and cement this learning elsewhere, right? And so, for example, we take Europe. Similar story here, actually. You have this fiercely independent culture, right? Everyone's kind of for themselves. And then you have this concept of a nation, of a group of people that are like you. And so then you say, well, then there's us and them, and we'll get them. And you see, this is the thing. There are points in history with Europe where they did get both. So, like, for example, the French, under Napoleon, were French. And they thought of themselves as French. And then they would go around Europe, conquering this guy and that guy, and beating up on those little city-states in Germany. And they felt powerful. They felt impactful. But then they were just, guys. They're just around. France today is not nearly as united as it was back then. Now, France is like, oh, the people in the countryside couldn't care less what the city does, and vice versa. They're not united. They're not one people. I do my thing, and yeah, we have this shared history, and isn't that fun? Isn't that great? But we're not the same. And this is where France messed up, is by giving all of Germany a common enemy. They united, and then they crushed the heck out of the French. Because they're like, hey, what, you want to pick on us one by one? Well, no, sir. Now we're going to be German. And we're going to get you all rounded up, and we're going to win. And that's how you got World War I, right? It's just, hey, we're going to win. And that's this idea that they united. And they were German for a time. But it couldn't even last the whole war, and that's why they lost. Is one of the biggest reasons why, at least is attributed to their loss, is they had a lack of military supplies going out. And the reason they had a lack of military supplies going out is because they had a worker strike. And this leads into the whole idea of Jewish racism, because they say like, oh, it was the Jews that did it, but that's not the point. The point is the strike did happen, and it's like we tried to unite and be great and be all that we could be together. Our individual strengths and abilities united on one massive front. And that's why Germany took out the whole world, even though they're mostly landlocked. Like, that is incredible. But they couldn't keep it up for a few years. And that's why they lost. And then there's other examples too. There's the examples of, in the Middle East, very much a faithful area, right? Everyone has their faith. But then, when they had their faith and then they said, oh, but we're going to have this more group mindset where we say, hey, we're going to unite together. And I mean, it's not necessarily the best, but it was definitely influential. And that's how Islam spread all the way across northern Africa, all the way to India. It's because they said, not only do we have a strong faith, but now we have a strong purpose that unites us. And that was strong. That was impactful. And whoever gains one of those four, one of those big ones, massive difference, massive changes. And that's the thing. Is if you want to make a bigger impact on the world, if you don't want to be left in this rut that the Mongols have been in for the past couple centuries, well, then you have to remember the lessons that your ancestors learned and build on them. Be more than they were. Learn something new. That's how you get to greatness. And that's the thing. All of this stuff, even though it's called the races of the world, it has nothing to do with race or skin color or genetics. It has everything to do with culture. It has everything to do with how you act as an individual and how individuals act together and how that builds and accumulates and grows. That's what matters. And so, that's the thing to take away. So that these four big lessons, those are the things that are going to cement your place in the world. That are going to make you feel actualized. Because when you have these four things, then you're resilient, powerful, impactful, efficient, and supported. And all of those things are important. All of those things are required to live a good life. And that's why you want all four. You should get all four. All four are great. And so think of the ones you have. Think of the ones you don't. And build, improve, grow.